Otsukimi here. Who else would it be? This is the Bitcoin Brief, aka the mini market update video for April 14th. Hope you've had a good weekend, good day overall. That's really the most important thing as you walk away from the charts after this video is over. We will take a look at Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana. We're going to take a look at kind of what happened over the weekend, kind of leading into Friday. We had a pretty good pump overall and just kind of faded that, really. There's nothing really going on in that respect. But we will take a look at the levels. We'll look at a little bit of the weekly situation, but I'm going to save that really for tomorrow's video, observations with Otsu, and some other videos throughout this week. So, and also stay tuned. I'm actually got a pretty big video prepped about. I'm going to take a lot of common AI tools, ChatGPT included, most of the ones you guys are familiar with, Claude, Grok, things like that, and I'm going to try to use them to create like different trading strategies. I'm trying to. My aim is to see which ones actually perform the best. And so go ahead and look forward to that. If that really interests you, like and subscribe, particularly to my YouTube. I'm trying to grow my YouTube out much more. I'm being really aggressive with that. So go ahead and let me know. And honestly, give me some feedback. If you like what you see, if you don't like what you see, go ahead and let me know. Happy to hear. And so let's get started with Bitcoin first. Okay, so we're going to look here at the weekly. Again, I'm going to focus much more on weekly only in tomorrow's video. But for right now, we close bullishly, and this was a very big concern. That's really all we need to know for the weekly at this point. Here, your levels that are marked out here from the 86 marker to the 89 on the top side, and then 71.5 to 73.650 or 660, I should say, on the lower block. And so that's really your big level. So the first things first is we need to acknowledge we had a pretty good bullish week last week. Probably the best bullish week that we've had since January. And it's really interesting because everybody feels like this is still dead, things like that. And I strongly disagree. I couldn't disagree more for a few different reasons. One, you have this bullish divergence. Or no, it's not here. I'm sorry. It's on the 3-day. I apologize. Where you had the double bottom here. But it's still looking pretty good. It's still within the range here. Overall, with all the tariff stuff, I think we are in the phase of tariff saturation as far as market sentiment. It's still ongoing, and it's going to, like I've seen this with many other things. I don't feel like this is going to be any different. Is that when you start looking at things for a long time, FOMC, for example, it starts to have irrelevance. Okay, before that, it was companies adding Bitcoin to their portfolio. I mean, which companies have been doing that really for a long time. Really, the only one that stands out aggressively is MicroStrategy, and these things don't have an impact necessarily, right? And so I feel like we're getting the same thing with the tariffs. People are tired of it already. It's for there was a news about China, trying to I guess get a break from the tariffs on Friday or so. Now they're saying they're not. Blah blah blah. So it goes back and forth, and that it is designed. This, whether intentional or not intentional, this is designed to take your mind share away from you. But more importantly, well, that's very important too because time is of the essence, and that's why I'm trying to make shorter videos for y'all. But the other thing is, it's going to be irrelevant to your portfolio, okay? And that's a good thing. That's a very good thing right now because that's going to make things a little more bullish or at least neutral, in retrospect. So we'll see where that goes. But right now we're in these two levels here. If you want to really dial this in, you want to make a big level with the fib block like this. We are above the mid. I think that we're pretty good to go here. I don't think we're out of the woods, but I think this is looking pretty good here. The only alternative would be that we get a big, drop down back to 71. But I think that might take a couple months to do, or at least 1 month, and it's gonna be painful if we do that. I we'll see. I don't think that we will, but we'll see. The bullish consolidation on here is very very wide. It's it's almost like 80%, and so that's pretty good. And so RSI is flirting with the 50. That's also a good sign. Not always, but tends to be when we get above the 50 on the weekly. It does tend to continue on. Not, like I said, not always. It's not necessarily all-in-one solution, but it's one of these things where people were making fun of RSI a couple weeks ago. Every day, I saw it every day, making fun of it. Guess what? We're up now. We're up ahead from where we were when people were making fun of it. So, but we'll focus on here on the daily because that's really the biggest part of this. And so here's your levels right here. You had your divergence on this one. You didn't have one right here, at least on this one. On the third day you had, but this is kind of where we're having this sort of trend line push. I think I talked about this previously, and so now we have that. And so I actually want to switch to this chart because this is actually what I've already had out on here. And so we broke above the zone. That's the main thing. So we deviated from this low. Okay, and deviations number one sign of reversal. And it's a very easy sign. We complicate this. We don't have to complicate this. So you got the deviation, got the break from the trend line, and now this is good. Now what's probably going to happen is that we're going to start fading here to about like maybe 81. We might even flirt with 79,000 over the next few days. I don't think that we're going to be pretty bullish until maybe Wednesday. I think that we're going to have a slow fade for the next 48 hours. And so I think a lot of people are going to misinterpret that because right now, if you have the break, you have the fade, that's a good time to load back up. Maybe get in on a lower price than you could have, but still allowing yourself to play that break. But I think people are going to misinterpret that as that we're going to be fading this, okay? And I don't think that we should be fading this because we broke this level, and technically we broke this level as well. And so I think this is an opportunity for continuation, okay? And a lot of things make me think of it. The RSI, of course, above 50 is another one. And then the bullish consolidation. We have a bullish consolidation on pretty much every time frame, weekly and higher, okay? Which is a bearish trend, but bullish momentum, okay? Bearish trend, bullish momentum. And that should lead to that should lead to a bullish trend with a bullish momentum, okay? And so that's how it goes. In my opinion, and this is why I use Arun, is because trend is not always your friend. I mean, it usually is, but like you should not, in my opinion, should not think in terms of trend only, but you should think in terms of trend and momentum, okay? And sometimes the trend is good, but the momentum isn't. Sometimes sometimes the momentum is good, but the trend isn't. And sometimes they're both at the same time, and sometimes they're neither, okay? And so you have 4 different scenarios at all given times, okay? And that determines whether, because if you have a bullish trend but you don't have bullish momentum, then you're not going to make a lot of money necessarily. That's more of like a spot situation, right? But if you have a bullish trend and bullish momentum, well, that's a leverage trading option, okay? So that helps me decide whether I should use spot or leverage as well, okay? Or nothing, or just, sit on my hands. So another video perhaps with that, but just letting you know with that one. But this is what I'm thinking with Bitcoin here. I think we're going to fade here for the next 48 hours. And then we're going to continue on for that. This is a little bit ambitious right here, the 106 for the moment. The biggest marker here is really just this gap. We're going to get somewhere in here. I actually like this a little bit better, but this is much more suited for the textbook style. About 90, just under 91,000 is kind of what I'm looking for the moment. I think that's a good take profit or a trailing stop position. If you're in a trade right now, I think this looks pretty decent. To be honest with you, 4 hour, we'll visit the 4 hour here, and then we'll go briefly to Ethereum and Solana as well. And so again, this, you got this from a local standpoint. Okay, you have this line here. Actually, I'm going to use a fib block. Hit basically the mid on the wicks. Get your retest fade, and that's a good idea that we were going to go ahead downwards. And now we're kind of rejecting here already, and so you kind of have the same thing already. Excuse me, I have the hiccup, but it hasn't came yet. Had the rejection here, get the pump fake, and so we'll see. This needs to be tested above. So far, this looks like a rejection. You have a bearish wedge in play. Also looks like a rejection. So we'll see. I'm not too interested right now. I very rarely trade going into Monday morning stocks, just because history has told me that that's typically the most volatile. Now, sometimes it's to the upside as well, but I'm just not interested in it because typically I'm still recovering from the weekend. Not recovering, but you know what I mean. So I usually wait Mondays out to get a better perception. But I really do think that this could go either way. I think I'm slightly looking at the downside, but if you go back down to this target here, you're going to hit the mid of this small block area here, and that's going to be about 80,550. So it's very close to what we were looking at with the 80,000 to 79,000 range. So that is Bitcoin. I think we're going to fade, and then we should rally maybe end of Tuesday, going into the rest of the week. Let's go to Ethereum. Ethereum is interesting here, up to about 1,600. So the weekly here, it held the mid, and this is a very big concern of mine. This is something I'm going to be talking about in the next, observation with Otsu video coming up. Hit the mid, so that's good. So if you wanted to get on this, you could. I don't think this is a high risk trade. I think this is a low risk trade. Now this is a big stop here as well, but something like this I think would be good. If you're interested in long-term spot Ethereum, I don't think this is a bad price point. I really don't. And this will give you a sizable, 100 and almost 150%. So I don't think that's too bad. You have a very big bullish wedge coming up at 92% of a gap. That's literally the biggest you can get, because you have to have one of these going down, and so you never can get 100. And so the 92 is the highest, looking pretty solid. I think this is looking pretty good. You do have a bullish divergence as well, so I think that's something to consider on the third day. But I think all those are looking pretty good. Now the one day looks a little bit indifferent here, and really this is going to be a big range. Okay, that's basically what we're going to be working with. And so if it can clear the break of that range, I think you can also add another position as well. Now this is going to be tricky. Stop loss is going to be up there. It's going to be tricky because you have this level here. So what would probably be a better option for you? And see, this is where it gets really tricky, is because this would look better, but then now you have a 26% stop loss, and you have a limited upside with this here. That's why I kind of like the 1 week pattern as well, the long-term spot. And again, going back to what I said about Bitcoin, the bears have the trend, but they don't have the momentum. Okay, and so that's going to give you short-term bullish trades right now. But they may not be profitable either. So that's the thing. You got to kind of work with what you got. If you want to be bullish, you should wait when the trend and the momentum are both bullish. That's when you're going to maximize your potential. Okay, so right now, a little tricky, but that's something to just consider. Now, I do want to look at the 4 hour with this one, because this kind of maps this out well. This is actually consolidating upward. So it's not a bad sign. Now, that being said, when you get this aggressive move here, it does tend to come back down. It does. So that's just something to consider on that front. I think here's a breaker here. I think we might get to like 1550, and then we could rally up after that. So we'll see how that goes. I'm optimistic. Ideally, I'd want to just play this range at 1470 to 1670. So let's go to Solana to round the video out, up 3%. So Solana's doing pretty good. Actually, not just get a bullish candle, actually pumped up about the move. This is a deviation play. This is an excellent play. If you wanted to do just a weekly position, I would target the highs here. I don't think it's a stretch to do so. Excuse me. And so we'll see where that goes. Again, deviations are great. You got the retest from the breaker here at 112, closed above that 122 I was looking at. Very, very solid. You have about an 85% gap on this. Everything looks great here. Everything looks great. I'm bullish, and I'm actually shocked that people are not bullish. I really am, because the moves have gone down pretty significantly. Like it went down 58%, almost 60%, and you don't want to just start thinking about buying. Like, at least start thinking about it. And like, it's like, oh, what about the tariffs? Oh, what about China? Oh, blah, blah. Like, again, you have that you have that saturation theory that I talked about. Everybody's thinking about this, and the people. I'll say what I say when I talked about the Bitcoin bottom. I'm not saying this is the bottom, but what I am saying, people got out when they could. Okay, and so when it came to the Bitcoin bottom, your question should not be where are the buyers, your question should be, where are the sellers? The sellers have already sold. And so by then, people that still have Bitcoin as an asset are still going they're going to write it down to zero. Same with Solana here in my opinion, same with Bitcoin here in my opinion, possibly with Ethereum, is that who is selling, like who bought at $250 that's now going to sell at $100 or $130? And the answer should be probably very few. So just keep that in mind. And you also have to counter that with the fact that, maybe there are people that are selling, but there's also going to be people that are buying. Because a lot of people anybody that's paying attention to the charts, paying attention to the percentages, will be interested in a 60% down move. That's why we have this reaction here. Okay? And you guys know I don't rely on volume too much, but, we'll see. I'm thinking about adding it to my portfolio, but we'll see where that goes. But I think Solana looks pretty good. Honestly, I don't think I'm going to recover the 4 hour, but this recovery is pretty good. Again, much more of a long-term spot situation. So anyway, that is the video. Tomorrow you're going to have observations with Otsu. I'm going to cover the weekly much more detail. Again, I'm going to have an AI video probably on Wednesday. I actually have to take my daughter to the hospital on Tuesday for her checkup. Premium, you guys have a video coming up right after this. And if you guys haven't been aware, I'm actually migrating my premium group, Apex Premium, just to be called the Apex Trading Group. We're just doing a rebrand. And so if you get in the next 48 hours, you're going to keep the old pricing. It's like $20 a month right now. I'm adding literally 10 features, 10 new benefits, reports. You get my spreadsheets, things like that. And I'm increasing the price pretty significantly. It's actually more than double the price. So if you want the old pricing, you need to sign up within the next 48 hours, probably about 40 hours now, to take advantage of that, mainly because I'm trying to migrate things, takes some time, so you get that benefit to sign up now instead of later. Let me know what you think. I'm happy to discuss things as well. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Hope you have a good night.